On the Talkback Show, on the radio, or whatever audio-visual device you choose to use. Welcome to the GBC podcast, where we talk about the Packers in our hometown of Green Bay. We are the official podcast of the Lot 1 Tailgate Party, which is at Lambeau Field every home game. This is episode 126, created December 2nd, 2025. Important anniversary, guys. It was 7 years ago today that Mike McCarthy was relieved of his duties as head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Things have gotten better since then. All right, I'm John. I'm in Appleton, Wisconsin. Along with me, Jeff in Minnesota, Neil on the East Coast. Say hello, gentlemen, and tell us what you're drinking.
Hello, gentlemen. Tonight I'm having the newest edition, 2025, of Bourbon County Stout.
Engine 19, Hut Hut, Dogfish Head, IPA.
All right, I simply made a Cuba Libre, rum and Coke with a little bit of lime juice. You can find us on YouTube and Twitter at Green Bay Chat and Facebook at the GBC Podcast Green Bay Chat. And just the audio is available on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify by searching for Green Bay Chat. Well, we've got 2 weeks we have to cover here. With the short week last week, we didn't jump in, but the Packers beating the Vikings at home 23-6, getting the short week Thanksgiving Day. It was a feast in Detroit, 31-24, the Packer victory. Hey, it's Bears week, you guys, so we got a lot to talk about with the Chicago Bears coming into Green Bay. But most importantly, Neil, it was deer hunting season. Did you get your deer this year?
I did not, but we had a very good year as far as our gang is concerned.
But nonetheless, you were able to make it to Green Bay for the Packers-Vikings game on that Sunday.
It was a beautiful day at the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field.
Not as frozen as it's going to be this week. We'll do the weather forecast for your brother in a little bit. But a great day in Green Bay with the Vikings. Vikings fans really turned out for this as well as we maybe have expected them to. But the Minnesota Vikings, Jeff, the last 2 games have been a whole lot of dog shit. 6 points combined in 2 games for the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah. They're not doing well over there in the Twin Cities, are they?
No. They have some quarterback issues, and their offense is, well, pretty much historically bad at this point.
And Neil, I know you like statistics. Was it a great defensive day for the Packers, Neil, or a bad offensive day for the Vikings, or a little bit of both?
Well, it certainly didn't start out as ideally as one would like. The Vikings scored on their first drive, and even though at halftime we did have a lead, the Vikings actually had more yards of offense in the first half than the Packers in the second half, 141 to 140, so only by 1 yard. But in the second half, the Packers defense basically said, fuck this shit. We are going to stop all of this bullshit. And in the 5 drives of the second half, 3 and out with a Parsons sack, 3 and out with a Parsons sack, 3 and out with a Wyatt sack, interception. The Vikings had 4 total yards of offense in the entire second half. The Vikings had -3 passing yards in the second half. Our defense took over, and maybe there's an offensive the Vikings component, but our defense really played up at a higher level in that second half.
Certainly on TV, it passed the eye test. Neil, you were inside the stadium. Is the crowd going just bonkers for this? Because this whole Micah Parsons deal has been kind of a big thing in Green Bay, right?
We got him half price. Micah Parsons, we got him half price. That's a cheer that Arsenal fans do for our 100 million pound player, Declan Rice. Highest transfer in English history. And guess what? Micah Parsons, the same thing. If we had paid 4 first-round picks for him, we'd still be doing okay in that trade.
I might be going a little bit far, but hyperbole is always good.
It's all about the defense. It was delicious to watch Micah Parsons feasting a little bit early before Thanksgiving on this Vikings offense. He was finally getting some single teams, and he was getting double and triple teamed, and it didn't make any difference. He was a man possessed. It's not like he's breaking out because he's been very consistently pretty good, but these last couple weeks have just been fantastic.
And the big stat on Micah Parsons, he is the first player in the history of the NFL since sacks have been counted as a statistic to get 12 sacks in each of his first 5 seasons. So 4 with that other team down south, but he is now a Green Bay Packer.
And dominating. So, John, here's my question for you. Do you think the Packers offense was just sort of mailing it in the second half? Let the defense feast, but not show their hand, knowing Detroit was coming up on a short week?
I think it happens every once in a while. I think that Green Bay was doing a great job offensively. The offensive line, certainly, Neil, I think was in charge. And when you have that happening, you can play a more basic game, preseason style, more vanilla. You don't want to show a lot of what you have, but you got to remember a lot of that Green Bay offense plays build off of each other. I hate to say that you're playing safe to keep anyone from getting injured, things like that. You still have to keep the foot on the gas, right, Neil?
And we did. We did score 13 points in the second half, but I think this was an extremely smart game plan by Matt LaFleur. It was a game management situation. You're playing in 4 days, and it's not that you're trying to keep players from getting injured. It's that you've got to do enough to win. And this is something that's very common in soccer, that you have games every 3 or 4 days, and especially you get to the second half of the season, you've got to manage your players. You can't overwork your players because otherwise you have problems with load management. And in soccer, you do it by squad rotation. You basically change who your starters are. That's more difficult to do in the NFL, but there was absolutely game management that we are going to try to do whatever is necessary so our players come out as fresh as humanly possible, such that they're ready for the Detroit Lions. And I thought that was not the Packers playing passively per se. I thought that was an aggressive strategy by Matt LaFleur to, in view of what was going to happen in Detroit 4 days later, in a game that was certainly going to be a critical game as far as the season is concerned.
Now, if we had a higher production budget, Neil, this is the part where we would clip in your thoughts from 4 weeks ago on what Matt LaFleur has done for you lately. And it's exactly it, right? A month ago, this team was flat. It was not looking good, and it was terrible, especially after that Panthers loss. So again, Neil, what has Matt LaFleur done for you lately?
The management aspect comes out in the fact that the Packers actually only had 58 passing yards in that second half. 7 of them, mind you, from Malik Willis. They clearly were saying, we've got enough of a lead for this team that is not very good when our defense is playing this well, that we're going to make sure there are as few plays as possible such that our players come out fresh. We're not wearing down our wide receivers. Our numbers for Jordan Love and the wide receivers, they were good as far as yards per play, but they weren't good as far as absolute numbers are concerned. If you're trying to just win MVPs and do things that don't involve actually winning the Super Bowl, you'd say that you're hurting your quarterback by having numbers that are so poor. But I think we can say, based on what Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love and that offense did against the Detroit Lions, that worked out well. And the fact is, the load management also worked as far as the defense is concerned, because the Vikings only had 44 plays. Our defense, by playing very aggressively, by having these 3 and outs and these takeaways in the second half, we kept our defense fresh. They did not put a lot of mileage on the tread, and that meant that their legs were ready to go in that next game in Detroit.
Yeah, and if you just look at the box score on this game for Jordan Love, his line 14 of 21, 139 yards passing, no touchdowns. He got sacked once. If you just look at that line and you're like, oh, and Malik Willis came into the game and threw a pass for 7 yards, what was going on there? And you're wondering, was he injured? Is it just not having an efficient day? He didn't need to because the defense was so strong on the day.
And the other thing is that Emmanuel Wilson essentially took over for Josh Jacobs, who got his rest so that he was ready to go. Emmanuel Wilson with a big day with 107 rushing yards plus 18 passing yards. And of those rushing yards, 94 of those yards after contact. What a really great performance by Emmanuel Wilson.
It was his breakout game. I don't think anybody expected Emmanuel Wilson to do that. What a perfect time to have a career game.
The other thing is that there were players that did step up due to injury. Quay Walker was out. Tyron Hopper had a game that really was a preview of what he was going to do against Detroit. And then on our offensive line, which is starting to stabilize, Anthony Belton took over as the right guard, 45 of the 66 snaps at right guard. And at this point, he's basically taken over the right guard position. And we have to wonder about what the future of Jordan Morgan is. But we can't speak highly enough about players taking their opportunities. And they did that.
Yeah, I think this is the game from Belton that we've wanted to see. Being a second-round draft pick, he's a guy that, remember, Neil, we talked about him. He's just mean, right? And
he's our asshole.
It's something that you wanted to see, right? You wanted to see him just really show it. And I think that he had a very solid game, like you said, right in the middle there.
The other thing about Matt LaFleur's play calling is that we brought in Darian Kennard for 21 plays as a 6th lineman in that game, clearly indicating that our strategy was just grind down clock, do enough to win this game, and be ready for Detroit.
But what was a little bit different about this game is that the running game was working. We were getting big chunks of yards. Wilson was getting these key short yardage pickups as well. That was working in this game. Play calling, even though conservative, was efficient because we were getting that offensive line blocking. And then, of course, we got a break with the asshats in the beginning of the third quarter to really turn this game around.
Yeah, the asshats contributed positively, right? Nothing was missed. And then they actually made a critical contributing play when Minnesota had a chance after we had sort of blown our first drive to start the second half, chance to break the game open. It didn't matter. We got the ball back on the 5 because Zane Anderson was right there to pick up that ball after the muff.
And perhaps most importantly, we scored the touchdown. That changed the whole flow of the game. It put us up then 17-6 at that point. Little breathing room, but really it seemed at that point the Vikings were like, all right, we're done. We're not going to be able to overcome this. And well, they were right.
Well, they couldn't overcome it again because our defense was so amazing. Every single drive of the second half, we had an outstanding contribution. And overall, 5 sacks, 9 hurries, 16 pressures, 10 quarterback hits, 7 tackles for loss, and of course, those 2 interceptions from McDuffie and Evan Williams. This was a case where the defense did absolutely everything to win that game in the second half.
And Jeff, back to your point again about how does the offense play with that kind of a lead? I think at that point, though, you as a fan were hoping for a touchdown to go up 24 to get the dagger, but they played a more ball control offense. They get the field goal, they get a second one. Just the fact of getting Brandon McManus out there to kick field goals to not only build his confidence, but build the fan base confidence in him, that it looks like he is back in form. Whatever the quad injury was, he seems to have surpassed it. Not worrying about what's happening with Lucas Haversick. He's still hanging around in town, but McManus had a good day.
So overall, this was the get right game against a team that they should have beaten. They did, and it served as a really positive springboard to Detroit.
And all told, J.J. McCarthy has a terrible, I guess at best, a terrible second half. 5 of 8 passing, 25 yards in the second half, 4 sacks, minus 28 yards. So a net minus 3 in that second half, a pair of interceptions. QBR for the game, 16.3. Just an ugly ass game all the way around for that young quarterback.
John, I thought it was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, right, depending on your perspective. Yes, it turned out to be a good game. You know who had a great day, though, Neil? The tailgating crew. What a fun day we had. Now, it was an interesting day for you, Neil. We talked about this last time. You had your dilemma of, A, you're out deer hunting, B, you got to get to Green Bay, and then at the same time as the Packer game, or almost the same time, it's your favorite team, Arsenal, against your least favorite team, Tottenham. And Neil, what do you think of Tottenham?
Shit.
And what do you think of shit?
Tottenham. Thank you.
It works out terrifically. And you had a good match, right? 4-1 for the victory there. So it was a great day for you all together. Tailgating was fun. Your Premier League match was fun. Your Packer game was fun. We had good weather, too, and a good turnout. High volume of Vikings fans, didn't you think?
It was a high volume of Vikings fans, but they just seem to be more subdued than Vikings fans usually are. They just seem to be like, I want to go to Green Bay and have fun rather than I actually think my team is going to win. There was almost no obnoxiousness whatsoever from Vikings fans at the game, in contrast to sort of what I usually expect. There was a meekness that, oh, we kind of sucked this year.
Almost like they knew what was happening, even though I think their online persona is a little bit different, but online is online. You get to hide when you do that. But yeah, I think the fans that did show up, like you said, yeah, they were there for the experience is a good way to put it. But a great experience, Neil. I tipped you off to this. We got some good pictures of it. There was a proposal that happened in Lot 1 on Sunday as well.
Yes, Tyler planned a perfect proposal for Lambeau Field for Alyssa. She takes a telescoping shot. She's celebrating. She's throwing her arms around just sort of the way you do as far as
she was highly distracted.
In. And then she turned around and there was Tyler on his knee with a ring. And the whole crowd went nuts cheering that couple on. And they were obviously extremely happy.
And yes, she did say yes. And that was also, Neil, speaking of online, you put that one out there online and that got some great play to it. There were a lot of, I think, female followers that said, oh, that's my dream. You just lived my dream. And yeah, hey, if you want to get engaged at Lambeau Field, you can even get married at Lambeau Field in the atrium too.
But John, what do you prefer, pregame or postgame at Lambeau?
I think it's pretty evident that I'm a tailgater, Neil. I love the pregame. But the thing is, around Lambeau Field, right, we have a lot of stuff going on before the game. After the game, with your concentration of bars in the stadium district, there are 4 different bands playing in the afternoon. So I think the difference, though, Neil, is leading up to the game, the anticipation level has a different feel to it than the post game. Your post game feel is predicated on whether you've won or lost the game. You lose the game, your post game is, okay, we're here, we're having a post game. But when you win, that post game is pretty darn good, isn't it?
It's a tension versus release kind of situation, John.
Yeah.
And wow, was the release present there at the Stadium View post game? We had a great time post game.
And it was for a country band, Neil, it was pretty good, right?
John, I would have enjoyed it no matter what, but you were getting into the country band and
Jeff,
wanted to get as close to the band as possible, which amused me as well.
We did. It's a general admission. So what do you do in general admission, Jeff? You just keep pushing forward. It was a country band. Neil made me stick around to listen to them. They were pretty good. I think they had some great covers that we got to listen to. But yeah, we made it all the way up to the barricade that separates the stage from the crowd.
So you got to just gawk. You were like groupies, right?
Oh,
you were
yeah.
just right there.
We're just, we were being the goofy middle-aged men, just working our way up and watching the kids have fun.
The crowd was having a good time. It's just this just sort of happiness that you have post game after victory. There's really nothing like that. Just sort of post game joy, the afterglow that you get after game, and that afterglow is perfectly lovely at home, but it's even better experiencing it with hundreds of your closest friends.
And while it was great to be together in Green Bay for that Sunday against the Vikings, Neil, it was still a good week. Thanksgiving, Jeff, a great time to get together as well. And you get to watch the Packers-Lions, comfort of your own home, national television. And this gets to be a signature game, I think. Packers with a victory 31-24 over the Detroit Lions, puts us 2-0 over the Lions on the season. Hey, week 1 was week 1, we get it, but week 13 was a little bit nicer.
John, I think Matt LaFleur before the game went in front of all the players and said, we've got him by the left one. All we've got to do is squeeze.
Got to squeeze it.
Wow, did we have brass balls all game that game. We went after that game with a level of gusto that just showed what our team is capable of.
And again, Neil, it goes back to that question. What has Matt LaFleur done for you lately?
I have less than 0 complaints. I have an imaginary number of complaints as far as this game is concerned based on what our head coach did. Absolutely in love with the overall game plan on offense and on defense and just the attitude that we took in that game.
We never trailed in this game. We took the lead and never looked back. This was a signature game, much as the one 2 years ago on Thanksgiving. But this one felt a little different. That one was like, oh my gosh, we're sort of arriving. Whereas this one, it's like, this is the level that we're expecting in which we should be playing at. And we saw it for the first time, really since the beginning of the season. And it was so delicious to watch.
And it started out looking even better than it ended up being. In the first quarter, we had a 102 yards to their having 10. Jared Goff, -6 yards passing net in that first quarter. The only blemish that we only scored 3 points, but it looked like it was going to be our offense annihilating their defense. And it certainly got a lot closer. And quite frankly, I think it's good for the team that they had to have a dogfight going on in order to win the game. But we did all the things that we needed to do at the times that we needed to do them. Yes, Detroit had their moments both on offense and on defense, but it didn't matter because we always did something more.
Yeah, statistically, very close in terms of yards and a number of other things. The major difference here, 4th down conversions. There were no turnovers in the game, but those 2 conversions that Detroit did not make were the difference in the game, one could argue.
And the 3 that we did make, because 4th and 3rd, Love to Wicks 22-yard touchdown. 4th and 1, Love to Dobbs touchdown. And then that 4th and 3 to Wicks that was the dagger in the game that just like, holy shit, we did that and it worked. Every 4th down conversion was an enormous play by Jordan Love and that entire offense. And it was beautiful to see.
Right. Facing aggression with aggression, right? So to speak. And I think over the last couple of games, Detroit fans are questioning Dan Campbell's strategy with this. The Lions are currently 0 for their last 7 on 4th down. That's not a good statistic, especially when it only covers 2 games.
But to give them a dose of essentially their own medicine, because this is what they did to us last year when they beat us. They would go for it. They would convert on 4th down. It's demoralizing. And the Packers it was so well done, so well executed. But they did it. They went for it. They didn't shy away. Oh, we're going to punt or we're going to do some lame ass play here. They went for it.
And I'll agree, Jeff. It is demoralizing to the defense because you've been out there, you're doing everything you can to hold this offense, and you're thinking, oh, good, we got them to fourth down. They're going to kick a field goal. They're going to punt. They're going to do something. No, the offense stays out on the field there, and they continue to go for it. It's tough for a defense to kind of stay on top of that. When you get the win, then your momentum is in your favor. But when you lose that battle and you lose it a second time, it's tough.
If you consider third and fourth downs combined, we were 9 of 12 on potential conversions. You can't really do any better than that. And it was the way that we balanced everything out as well, right? That first quarter, we ran all over them in the first quarter. And we did it not just with Josh Jacobs, though he had a beautiful game. You know, we had Melton, Jeff, there were Jeff sweeps there. And yes, it kept the Detroit Lions off balance, something we haven't done in a while. And going with John as far as playing your hand, that may have been part of what was going on there. But then after the first quarter, it was much more driven by Jordan Love and the passing game. It was as if we're telling them, we can beat you however we want to beat you, and we will beat you however we feel like doing so.
Credit the offensive line. They really showed up in this game as well because we were getting these key runs. And perhaps more importantly, Love wasn't sacked.
And he was only hit twice in the entire game. The offensive line did their job.
Now, what's also interesting, that first drive, although we only scored a field goal, Love had 3 incomplete passes on that drive. It sort of got him out of the way. So we got some incompletions, and the rest of the game, Love was on.
And the only thing that kept his stats from being even better is those Detroit D-backs were really good as far as knocking the ball away and preventing even more damage by our receiving corps, because Love had some passes that were perfect, and the Detroit defense was just as perfect in their placement.
Or just holding, Watson's arm down too.
Wow, that was that play too. But
and right, if you have to take one negative thing away from it, right, it is Christian Watson, who has 10 targets on the day, but only makes 4 catches. 1 should have been a pass interference. Yeah. But of the 4 that he does catch, Neil, right, 80 yards total receiving, and the big 51-yard touchdown pass as well.
But what he was catching was huge, was right. Key. So if they're targeting him 10 times, I think he's getting not only more comfortable with them, but is he now sort of emerging as wide receiver 1? I mean, 10 targets is a lot in a game, considering Love only threw it 30 times.
I think we've got to stop talking about wide receiver 1. I just think that Christian Watson has taken control of this team. But the person who really stepped up as well is Dontavian Wicks. Dontavian Wicks sees these other players coming back. I think that he's inspired on his own. I don't mean to say that it's that upcoming competition from Reed and Golden that's got him, but Wicks has taken a big leap to a different level in the last couple of games, and it's been really fun to watch Wicks make those plays. That first Wicks touchdown where it was just like, did he catch it? Did he catch it? And it's like, oh yeah, he made the big play on that touchdown. And the second touchdown, it was just a huge effort to make sure that he got himself in and scored, and combined with that last catch that was the dagger in the game. Shoe off, being draped by the Detroit Lions defender did not matter. He was going to make that catch. I am the player that is going to make the plays. That was beautiful to see.
Everybody's making the catches now. They're stepping up. Hopefully the drops are behind us, and with players coming back, wow, who do you stop? Who do you key on? Because they're all really playing high level.
The other players who stepped up, though, are our linebackers. And wow, they just seem to be everywhere on the field. Obviously, we know Edgerrin Cooper is amazing, and he had this big playability. But Isaiah McDuffie, huge game. Hopper with a couple of really big plays in that game. And that linebacking core, even without Quay Walker, was something that was a joy to watch as far as just how they seemed to move as a unit to wherever the ball was or wherever the ball was going.
Well, then there's this other guy, Micah Parsons. He's pretty good too, Neil.
Hey, Neil, we got Micah Parsons.
I just don't think you understand.
Right. Jared Goff gets sacked 3 times on the game. Parsons is involved in all 3 of them. He gets 2.5 sacks on the game. Enagbari shares that other sack with him. But it's not just the sacks, Neil, right? It's those pressures. And as I said, it's not just getting the pressure, but what do you do with those pressures? And I think that in this game, you saw a more positive outcome for the defense off of those pressures as well.
They clearly had a plan for how they were going to rattle Jared Goff. And it's a little weird to say rattle because Jared Goff in the second and third quarters combined was 13 of 13 for 167 yards. But he just, other than to Jamison Williams, he had problems finding the receivers that he wanted to. And obviously, the first quarter, he did nothing. In the fourth quarter, there were a lot of opportunities where we just got to Jared Goff and he couldn't make the plays that he is capable of doing. And of course, that's the key with Jared Goff is you can't give him time. You don't give him time, and he's going to do checkdowns. He's going to do other things that are going to prevent the Lions from keeping up in a track meet that the game became in the second half.
And Goff does have a decent day, 20 of 26, right? He only 6 misses, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, spreads the ball around to 8 different receivers. And there is the one drive there. You guys know what I'm talking about. The one drive where you're just watching the defense like, why are we not keeping up with this? What happened in this drive here?
So the bend and broken defense, at least.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately. But you know what, John? That was more the anomaly. I never got the feeling in this game where it was like, oh, geez, here we go again. The defense always really seemed to be in control here, or like some other teams that we've seen historically, oh, the defense is going to sort of bail us out here. That's exactly what happened here because Parsons, those last couple drives, asserted himself.
I think part of the reason why you didn't feel like, oh, here we go again is because every time the Lions scored, we still had a lead after that score. And so the fact of playing essentially with a 2-score lead and, oh, well, it fell down to 1. Well, that's not great. But on the other hand, we still have that lead is going to do wonders as far as helping your emotions and your agita when some big plays are allowed, because the Lions did have a number of long drives, and it was the fourth down plays on defense that prevented this from being a game where the Lions were capable of taking a lead. And again, the defense was so big on those fourth downs in the second half, really on the third down and the fourth down. 3rd and 2, run -1, McDuffie and Cooper, and then 4th and 3, Parsons with the tackle, keeping them away. And then on the next drive, Williams with a huge play on a 3rd and short. We stopped them really on a 3rd and short and a 4th and short in both of those fourth down non-conversions by the Lions. And that's what you're talking about as far as the defense stepping up, is that they didn't crumble on 3rd down either, and it made it go to 4th down.
Even on the Lions' last drive, where they did get a field goal, but it was a 10-point lead for the Packers. Detroit drives down, 3 straight incompletions, and then Parsons' huge sack. And I said, huge sack.
He's got a huge sack. Down. Is that what you said, Jeff?
But again, they got down to 1st and goal at our 4-yard line, and we stopped them not just on the Parsons sack, huge as that sack was, but on those 2 previous plays. And now, to be fair, Dan Campbell decided to Dan Campbell and have David Montgomery be a quarterback on one of those plays, so we can be thankful for that element. But it doesn't matter. Our defense was flying. Our defense was in a position where it looked like they were going to make plays more often than not. And that's what you need. We had the offensive guns that we didn't need them to make every play. We weren't trying to hold, where we only had 17 points or 20 points. We had the number of points that they could allow it a couple times. Not that they were trying to, but they're a good offense. Detroit is a team that has weapons, and they took advantage of their weapons. But I didn't feel ever that our defense was playing poorly despite the number of points the Lions scored. And that's a testament to just sort of the eye test of how they looked on so many plays.
And this was essentially a playoff game. They passed this test with flying colors.
And the result of beating those Lions is that the Packers, although not in first place in the NFC North yet, we now control our own destiny for being the 2 seed in the NFC.
It's a spot where now Green Bay has 3 wins in the division. Here's the interesting thing about these last 2 games against the Vikings and the Lions, both wins, 23 points against the Vikings, 31 against the Lions. The average number of points in those 2 games?
27.
27, Neil.
That's a little bit of a stretch, John. Now we've got you doing math.
It puts the Packers to 8-3-1 on the season. As mentioned, the unheralded. Are they unheralded? Maybe. Chicago Bears 9-3. Just where did they get 9 wins? We don't know, but they're going to bring them into Green Bay this week for Bears Week. It's a game that got moved up to the prime slot at 3:25 Central Time, Neil, for the late kickoff. Packers, Bears. As you said a moment ago, Neil, it's for control of not just the division, but the NFC altogether.
John, the West has two teams actually that are also 9-3. So, and we don't play them, so we only can get up to the number 2 by winning out. But nonetheless,
Neil,
it's a great
you
position
should
to
know
be.
this by nature of where you have lived for so long. Fuck the West Coast. We don't care about those teams. They're going to beat each other up. This is just a great week here. This is one of those where, this is classic Packers Bears, right? This isn't two bottom feeders. This isn't teams that are just going to beat each other up for fun and say, oh, at least we beat the Bears this season. No, this is a game that is for a lot of the marbles. Not yet all the marbles. Maybe in 2 weeks it'll be all the marbles, but one of these two teams is going to pick up a lot of marbles this week.
Chicago has been very lucky with its marbles, though, so far this season, because despite that 9-3 record, they have a -3 overall point differential. And my favorite general statistic for analyzing teams is DVOA. The Chicago Bears are the worst 9-3 team ever by DVOA. Those are numbers that go back into the late 1970s. So there may be a bit of a paper tiger or a paper bear, as it were, with this team.
Well, I think it's evidenced already in the point spread. The Packers are favored by 6.5 at this game at home. The weather forecast for Sunday, daytime high temperature, 17 degrees. Your favorite, Neil, wind chill. Hey, that wind chill will actually be in the single digits, but
not a real number.
As mentioned, with a 3:25 kickoff, within an hour of kickoff is sunset, and it is going to get cold fast in Green Bay on Sunday.
Well, then the fans are going to have to show up and stay warm and rowdy.
Jeff, you know what that means they need? Another beer.
Another beer. But Neil, we're already learning that the secondary market prices on this game are shooting up as well. I think that the Bears fans are actually excited to follow their team this year to see what's going to happen when they come up to Green Bay.
I'm looking forward to them being rowdy pregame and during the game becoming completely dejected like visiting fans always do when the Packers dominated home. That's always the way to handle any number of visiting fans. But the other thing is I think the Packers fans are really going to be up for it as well. And the Bears fans being present as well, it's going to make for a really exciting environment for all fans that are in attendance.
Well, the Bears are coming in on a 5-game winning streak. Paper Bears, yes, but they've got some momentum here. Obviously, they're in first place. But is there anything we should be concerned about with these Bears, Neil?
When you look at statistics, there are some statistics that could bother you. So, for example, if you look at offensive yards per game, the Bears are actually 6th in the NFL at offensive yards per game at 374. Running yards per game, they are 2nd at 154 yards per game. So at least on paper, they're good at that. But one of the reasons why I like DVOA is that it takes into account the opponent and the quality of the opponent and also the context of when plays are made. And despite the Bears having those impressive yardage numbers, the Bears are 19th in overall DVOA compared to 5 for the Packers. Their offense, despite having these gaudy numbers, are basically middling at 12. And then their defensive DVOA is 25th in the NFL, Packers 7th. So this is a team that is capable of allowing a lot of points. Again, that's evidenced by the fact that their point differential is only -3. You have to allow a lot of points to be 9-3 and have a negative point differential. And that's where the opportunity is.
And, this is the second Bears appearance in Green Bay in the calendar year of 2025. The last time Chicago was here, January 5th, 2025. That's the Week 18 game last year. Kickoff temperature was 16 degrees, a game that the Bears end up winning 24-22. Green Bay only wins one division game last year, but that game against Chicago in Week 18, kind of a crazy fourth quarter, last 2 minutes. It was a wild ride at the end of that game last time around. And I think from that game going into this season, it's giving those Bears fans a lot of hope, a lot of confidence coming into Green Bay.
Yeah, but John, that was one of 2 wins against the Packers in the last 10 years.
Ben Johnson's going to say that history doesn't matter, and I would agree with him.
I think
the players on those other teams weren't present. Well. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? This team is a team that has belief. Ben Johnson has instilled that belief in the team, and Ben Johnson's going to point to what his Detroit Lions teams were able to do to the Packers the last couple of years and say, listen, I'm the coach now. We can do the exact same thing to these Packers. I know how to beat the Packers, and confidence matters in a locker room.
Okay, so then what do the Packers do? How does Matt LaFleur sort of counter that and say, okay, historically we've had the Bears number for now quite a long time. but the Packers are the better team here in a number of different areas, as you were talking about DVOA, things like that. So it's a home game. Obviously, it's in Green Bay. What else does the coaching staff bring to get the Packers ready for this?
They get the players ready to play their game. I think that's all that needs to happen, right? We don't need some sort of weird emotional edge. This is not high school football where it's the rah, 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 as Big Ed talked about. You play the game plan to beat that other team. And looking at our defense, for example, we are the fourth best defense in yards per game. The Bears, 27th in the NFL in yards per game on defense, passing 22nd, running 28th in yards per game. And on the other side of the ball, on offense, the Packers are fourth in overall quarterback rating, and we're first in third down percentage at 49% conversion on third downs. The Bears, despite the fact that Caleb Williams has done a lot of things that people in the media have liked to enjoy, there are a lot of things about his statistics that are just problematic. He's only completed 58% of his passes so far this year. If you look by QBR, he is 54.8. That is below average by QBR, ranked 18th in the NFL. Go to advanced statistics, expected points added per play. He's at 24th among quarterbacks. And if you go by CPOE, completion percentage over expectation, Jordan Love is third in that at plus 5.7%. That is, he's completing a higher percentage given the types of passes he's throwing than you would expect. Caleb Williams is 34th at negative 8.5%. That is, on any given pass, Caleb Williams is 8.5% less likely to have a completion than a typical NFL quarterback. They are taking advantage of Caleb Williams' skill set, but his skill set is still quite limited right now. And we need Jeff Hafley to recognize exactly how to break down Caleb Williams and this offense.
You know, I'm not going to take a lot away from the Bears. I get where you're going with that, Neil, but this is a team that also started out 0-2. They are 9-1 since then and have had some decent games in there. Their loss in that 9-1 stretch is at Baltimore. But I think the big thing for these Chicago Bears is coming off of the Black Friday victory, where they went into Philadelphia and came away with a 24-15 win over the Eagles. That's a huge win for the Chicago Bears on the season.
No doubt. And that win was predicated on their running game. And that is certainly their strength. They've got two runners that are doing extremely well. DeAndre Swift has 774 yards in the season, 13th, 4.8 yards per attempt, 5 rushing touchdowns. And then the second head is Kyle Monangai, 591 yards, 23rd in total rushing yards, 4.9 yards per attempt, also 5 rushing touchdowns. So they've got the ability to really defeat teams through this two-headed running attack. And that's essentially what they did against the Philadelphia Eagles.
And it looks to be an interesting stretch of 13 days from December 7th through the 20th, bookending the Chicago Bears this Sunday, and then now move to prime time, 7:20 p.m. on that Saturday, December 20th. Oh, by the way, there's a trip to Denver in between there to face the second best team in the AFC as well. So this is a big stretch for the Packers in these 3 games. When we looked at this ahead of the season, you guys, all 3 of us took a Packer victory here with the Bears coming into Green Bay. I think we're feeling really good about our Packer team. The defense has been playing really well. We know Bears fans are really high on their team, as we mentioned, 9-1 out of their last 10 games. What are you looking for going into Sunday?
Sunday will be the 211th meeting between the Bears and the Packers. In a regular season game with first place in the division on the line, I expect the Packers to come out prepared, confident, and dominant in a victory. Go Pack, go.
We've seen the evolution of this team over the last few weeks, and part of the joy of these games has been watching players come in and make an impact. We've seen our offensive line stabilize, and we're now getting some of these receivers back, whether it's this week or next week, with Reed and Savion Williams returning, Golden. This is an offense that has a lot of weapons. And the other person who's starting to show signs is Luke Musgrave. He's had 2 drawn defensive pass interferences in the last 3 weeks and had a huge reception that showcased his abilities in the game against Detroit. There are a lot of ways that we can attack a team on offense and on defense. This is going to be a fun stretch of football. I'm looking forward to the Packers-Bears on Sunday. Go Pack, go.
And regardless of the weather, the Lot 1 tailgate party will be going strong. We'll start at 11:25 a.m. on Sunday. We'll be out there in the wind chill. You know what that means, Neil? Snow pants. All right. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit subscribe, leave a comment, find the GBC podcast at Green Bay Chat. That's all one word, Green Bay Chat. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Blue Sky, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And on Facebook, it's the GBC podcast Green Bay Chat. Please follow us on any and all of those social media platforms. And may you fully appreciate the magnitude of your impending good fortune. Thanks for joining us.
Good night.
Good night.